Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Oscars Were Wrong, a podcast dedicated to looking at past year of the awards season, the film awards season, basically, and deciding, if the Oscars, in their inevitable decision, got it wrong or right. I'm Trevor. I'm joined as always by Thomas. Today, we are looking at the 2019 award season. The awards happened in 2020, but it was for 2019. Maybe the last good thing about 2019, or sorry, 2020. Because like the Oscars happened, and then after that, like everything just went downhill.
Yeah, I think people remember. I think it's short enough ago that people remember the COVID pandemic. I don't think you need to remind people of that.
So, guys, back in my day, but yeah. A wild award season, though. We can just jump straight into the season. Parasite did end up taking Best Picture. After not winning any of the precursors, they were all went to 1917, won Golden Globe for drama, BAFTA, and PGA. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood took musical or comedy from Golden Globe and Critics' Choice. You also had The Irishman there from Scorsese. Yeah. A pretty big year overall for film, a great year for film. But it was Parasite making history, becoming the first international film to win, even though Roma should have done it the year earlier. We'll get into that in the next episode. Bong Joon-ho also taking director after just tying with Mendes at Critics' Choice. Mendes taking everything else. Joaquin Phoenix swept through Best Actor. Renee Zellweger swept through Best Actress. Brad Pitt swept through Supporting Actor. Laura Dern swept through Supporting Actress. All of those picks, I don't know if they were my favorite of the year, but like, I don't dislike them winning the acting categories. Like, it was a pretty boring.
Yeah, they all make sense, all those acting categories. But this was the season that could actually be considered like very similar to the most recent season. You know, you have Power of a Dog surging all the way through, and then something comes up and builds momentum, and then ends up taking home the Best Picture one. And this being Parasite this year, so you can make comparisons to this most recent Oscar season in terms of that.
Yeah, for sure. And no sweeps. But some pretty solid acting races. Like Will Smith did sweep, DeBose did sweep, Kotzer was close to sweeping. The only close one was Actress, but in the end, it was like, it was Critics' Choice, and
it was exactly who we expected in the end.
And Oscar. Like at that point, like she only missed 2. She went 3 out of 5, so still an expected win. Screenplay. It seemed as if Tarantino was going to take it, but where Parasite did do really well, it was in screenplay, WGA, BAFTA, and Oscar. Sadly, my girl Greta Gerwig didn't take home her Oscar. She will eventually. Best Picture for Barbie, but Taika Waititi won for Jojo Rabbit, which is again a win that I'm not complaining about.
No,
I'm perfectly fine with Taika winning an Oscar. Especially, and I do like both Taika and Greta quite a bit, especially because I don't know how close to the Oscars Taika is ever going to get again. We'll see when Mexico wins, but I think that Greta will always be in the Oscars conversation from now on.
Yeah, she makes more Oscar-friendly films than Taika.
Yeah, for sure. But let's dive into the specific race for Best Picture. See what was snubbed. And then we can talk about our personal snubs, Portrait of Lady on Fire. But for Best Drama at the Golden Globes, we had 1917, The Irishman, Joker, Marriage Story, and the 2 popes got in at Golden Globes.
Okay.
Really weird. Kind of unexpected. Because like that didn't end up making picture. 1917 did win that. Musical or comedy was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Jojo Rabbit, and then 3 movies that didn't make it: Dolomite, Is My Name, Knives Out, and Rocket Man.
So Knives Out made it into Best Comedy or Musical. Okay.
Yeah. I think it also made PGA. We'll get into that later, but I'm pretty sure it also made PGA. But like they only went 6 out of 9 of the inevitable Oscars lineup. With 2 popes getting in, because no Parasite, obviously, is one of the the bigger ones, I think you could say. But yeah, with Hollywood in 1917, I think at that point we kind of thought that would be our lineup. Like Ford v Ferrari also not here, and I feel like that was kind of one of the ones on the bubble.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely one of the, like definitely ninth place, or at least or worst eighth place, I guess. Like if there were less nominees, Ford v Ferrari would have been one of the early ones to be kicked out.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I think that Ford v Ferrari was 9. I think a movie, and I don't think it was nominated anywhere for picture, but another movie I think was close was Bombshell, just because of its 3 acting nominations that it
Yeah,
did end up getting. But the other big one to miss here at Golden Globe for Best Picture was Little Women, alongside Parasite and Ford v Ferrari. So interesting. This comedy lineup: Dolomite, Rocket Man, Knives Out. I mean, Rocket Man only end up getting just song and
just song, I
costumes.
believe. Hang on, I'm on it
Was
now
it,
actually.
or did it get costumes?
Let's have a look. Costumes.
Okay.
No, it didn't even get costumes. Didn't even get costumes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so it was
crazy.
just song. Just song.
And Dolomite wasn't nominated at all. Dolomite was
No.
completely blanked by the Oscars, and like maybe even could have gone to Eddie Murphy, and like at least costumes again for that movie. At least costumes. Like I like the
Yeah.
Jojo Rabbit costumes, but like you could have done Dolomite or Rocket Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Globes were interesting. Two Popes is kind of weird to see show up over Little Women or Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah. Was not really a fan of Two Popes either, so I'm not too disappointed that it didn't get into picture. Although that was another one that definitely was on the bubble because I got 2 acting nominations.
Yeah, no,
Like
it
I'd
did.
say
And
if it
screenplay.
was if it was set for 10, Two Popes probably would have been the 10th. I think we're fine.
I think it would have been between Two Popes, Bombshell, and Knives Out. We would have seen one of those 3. But at Critics' Choice, they did have a set 10, and it was the 9 Best Picture nominees plus Uncut Gems, which they're really the only like main ceremony that went for it. But they also went for the Safdies and director. They went for Adam Sandler and actor, and they went for they didn't go for it in screenplay, which is kind of weird.
Okay.
But yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because like I'm glad that they actually did a critics pick though. Like super weird that this year they went, being the Ricardos over Drive My Car, which was the critics' choice of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see them, actually go for a
critics' choice.
Uncut Gems. Yeah. Which super happy to see Uncut Gems. I love Uncut Gems. So
yeah, definitely one of my favorite films of 2019. That so I was sad to see it not get in, but obviously it was unlikely to get in. I was more sad to see Adam Sandler not get recognized because, which one was it? Jonathan Pryce or was it Anthony Hopkins who was Best Actor?
I think Price was lead and then Hopkins was supporting.
Yeah, but either way, I would have preferred Adam Sandler in over either of them.
For sure. But yeah, so Golden Globes were the Critics' Choice was like pretty good this year. They also did Willem Dafoe in supporting for The Lighthouse, which is such a great choice. Such a great choice. They also went for The Farewell and screenplay, which again, another movie that was completely blanked by the Oscars. Very undeservedly so. I don't think it's like the best of the year, but it's a good movie. It's a very good movie. I liked it quite a bit. So it's another one. But like when you have this many good movies in a year, like they also did Lupita in For Us and Lead.
Yeah.
Which is another choice that I like quite a bit. So yeah, Critics' Choice was fun. PGA. So I believe this. Yeah, so this is where they did the 9 plus Knives. Which makes sense for PGA. It was a very popular film.
It was. I mean, so much so Netflix acquired it for ridiculous amounts of money to spawn into a franchise. So yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And at this point, I think we kind of knew what like that we were going to get 9 and what they were to be.
Yeah.
Like after I seen Critics' Choice and PGA do the same thing and then just adding one, I don't think like Knives Out had Golden Globe and PGA, but like really gonna was it really gonna?
It wasn't an Oscars film.
So I think that, yeah. I am confused. How is Parasite eligible for PGA?
I don't know.
That's kind of odd. I thought. Anyways, beside the point. BAFTA they only do 5, and they went for 1917 in the win. And then The Irishman,
Yeah.
Joker, Hollywood, Parasite, which I think were probably the top 5. And that was I think that was director lineup that the Oscars ended up going for. And it was also BAFTA's directing lineup. I think this makes sense. These top 5.
Yeah.
So sure. But the Oscars, they did end up going with the expected 9 of Parasite, Ford v Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So like we were saying, if there were 10, I think it would have been between the two popes, Knives Out and Bombshell. Because Knives Out was the only one to get 2 precursors. Two popes had 2 acting noms and a screenplay nom. Bombshell had 3 acting nominations. So kind of similar to being the Ricardos in that sense.
Yeah.
Where it gets the acting nominations and misses. But Bombshell also did have a makeup win in their back pocket. So interesting. But overall, I'm happy with this lineup. I like it overall.
Yeah. There are a couple ones I think from 2019 that I absolutely love. So Midsummer is one that I think, it's a great film in general. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, one that really went just under the radar, which I think is one of like the sweetest, most positive films you will ever find. It's literally about a guy trying to be cynical, realizing, I should probably be a bit more positive in life. And that's the message of the film. And that is just a beautiful, lovely film. If we're talking about cultural impact,
Michael Morbius, and that man was Michael Morbius.
Yeah. If we're talking about cultural impact, like Avengers Endgame was never going to get Best Picture, but it could have got a bit more considering it was maybe the most culturally significant film of the past decade, maybe of the century. And then finally, the one I'd like to mention, The Lighthouse. We mentioned Willem Dafoe. Like, come on, Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson. Like, it got cinematography. It should have got so much more. So that's a shame. But I guess it was too late for the Oscars.
Supporting, screenplay, supporting, production design, costumes, editing, sound, director, picture,
all of the things.
Yeah, should have gotten a lot of noms. Ones that I'll throw out. Midsommar, obviously, we agree on that. It's a great film. Endgame, it would have never been nominated, but for cultural impact, it would have been the Spider-Man No Way Home pick that we were looking at this year, and it just ended up getting nothing except for visual effects, which is fine. And I think, Endgame, I think also got sound or score. I think it got 2 noms. I think sound. But The Last Black Man in San Francisco, I'll shove it out. It's a very, very, very good film. A24 got to represent. Speaking of A24, The Farewell, which should have gotten screenplay at least maybe supporting actors for the grandma, for that Union Jong-esque glove. But my biggest one, and I think it might even be my number one of the year, is Portrait of Lady on Fire. Celine Sciamma is one of my favorite directors, and I feel perfectly comfortable calling Portrait of Lady on Fire a masterpiece. It's in my top 10 of all time. It's close between that and the movie that I have at number 1 on my list that we'll be counting down, but Portrait of a Lady on Fire it's so good. It's so good. That should have gotten picture, director, actress, supporting actress, screenplay, international film. Costumes, production design, cinematography, like edit, like score. Well, not really. There was no music except for the end, which is like beautiful. But just all of the things basically is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Anyway. So those are some movies that we think that you should watch that weren't. Also, I don't know if it was eligible this year. Just wanted to shout out a bit. Is Our Ladies, which is something that we each both randomly watched last year.
Well, you told me to watch it, and I took your advice, and I was not disappointed.
That's true. That's true. It's like it feels outdated with some of the stuff it does, but it's just a delightful film. Like it is. If it was a bit less controversial, like you know,
just don't look at who directed it going in. Just don't look at who directed it going in, and you'll be fine. You'll love it, I'm sure.
Also, Honey Boy, film that I liked for a bit. Could have seen that get some love in supporting or screenplay. Also, there was a different Willem Dafoe film in 2019 that by the end of 2019, I was like, this movie's great, and people aren't talking about it enough. Looking back on it, like it was decent, and that would be the Disney Plus original film Togo, starring Willem Dafoe.
I've never heard of it.
Willem Dafoe is actually quite good in it. It was like, it was one of the first Disney Plus originals, like, and it's decent.
Okay,
it's decent. Okay, Willem Dafoe. Okay, wait, let's actually guess and see what's the Letterboxd score on this. A 3.7.
Wow.
Like it's got a decent score. It's like it's about the true story of winter 1925, and like Balto like was just like kind of like made up and didn't do anything, and it's about like the true story of it's basically Balto but a true story. And like Willem Dafoe's pretty good in it. So I don't. Do I think it's the the 4.5 out of 5 film that I initially rated it in 2019? No, probably more of like a 3.5. But it's decent if you ever want to look at Willem Dafoe hanging out with a dog.
And who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
But should we get into our countdown? Yes. Well, I guess we can get into initial thoughts first. On each of the nominees. Okay, we can go in alphabetical order. Let's talk about Ford v Ferrari.
Okay. Should I lead?
You can go first. You should go ahead.
Okay, so I will say that I did watch it in the cinema when it came out. I actually watched most of these. The only ones I didn't were Marriage Story and Irishman, because they were Netflix, so I thought not much point in watching them. Oh, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, actually, because that would have been very, very much rated 18, and I would have been probably 13 or 14. So, but yes, anyway, Ford versus Ferrari. I think that this was a really, really great cinema experience. Does it hold up as well when you watch it back? Not really. I still really do actually very much enjoy this film. It is a little cliche. It is a little Oscar baity. The performances are not the greatest performances in the world, but I think that it does make up for it in the fact that, like, the editing and all the sound design and all of that kind of thing is really, really very good. I think it does look very good, even though a lot of people have complained about the sort of bright cinematography. I didn't mind it too much. Yeah. Like, Mangold isn't a director who necessarily has that much of a style, but I don't mind that. Like, not every director has to have a style. Sometimes you can just get directors, they make this film, they make it competently, then they move on to the next thing. I think that's like refreshing almost in a way, because we see nowadays with Wes Anderson, he only makes Wes Anderson films.
And they're glorious.
Well, yeah. Or like Tarantino, who we'll talk about later, who only makes Tarantino films. I think it's nice to just have directors who, well, we'll not go on to this conversation too much. Like the film does drag a little. I do think it is a little too long, but I do think that it is necessary to build such a impactful and such a climactic third act. I do think that it was necessary to make you care about the characters before we get to the final third act. And I do think it does make that final, the whole race, actually very, very enjoyable. And I do think it explores some interesting themes about like dreams and finding your purpose, and like the ending is almost weirdly positive in a way, because like Bale died doing what he loved. And I think that's
Yeah.
a good message to leave the audience with. Like, well, obviously, don't die in a car crash. That's not the message, but die doing what you love and get the most out of life.
Come on, Thomas. Those are history spoilers.
Yeah,
But yeah, I didn't see this in the theater. I actually just watched it for the first time recently. This was the only one of the nominees that I hadn't seen. And yeah, I thought it was decent. Like it's I too didn't really mind the kind of bright washed out cinematography that much. I do think Mangold finds a lot of his style in the editing rather than the
yeah,
cinematography. I think style can come through in the editing room. And yeah, any scene where there is a car on screen, just
yeah.
glorious.
You
Like
feel like you're in a car.
beautifully done. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like when I saw the Batman, I said, car chase sequence may be the best car sequence. I might have to redact that statement and just
yeah,
say anything in Ford v Ferrari because they're really well done. A lot of my problems are it's way too long. The solid 30 minutes could have been cut off this movie, in my opinion.
yeah,
I don't think that we needed to spend as much time with the characters because like not to sound like gonna be I want to see cars go fast. The character the least interesting part of the film. The most interesting
yeah.
part was
No,
watching them in their cars and watching them express their emotions through their driving.
mm,
Which I thought was really fun. Like, did the kid need to be there? No, I didn't really care about the kid that much.
no,
The kid
no.
was there so that way we could have Oscar bait scenes.
Mm,
And like create like this emotional connection. So it kind of felt the same with like the wife character. We just like randomly cut away to them in the middle of races and be like, oh look, people care about him, and then we're like, oh, emotional connection. Like,
yeah.
yeah, this movie's very cliche, it's very Oscar bait, but like I had fun with it.
Yeah, and
I'd,
I
I'd, I'd
can't deny
recommend
that
it to
this
my dad.
film, yeah,
Like,
this film just makes me feel good, and that's often just what you want in film. Like you come away from this going, cool, that nice little film. I don't think it's doing anything
that's right.
drastically different or like inventive or anything like that. I just think it's a
Yeah,
competent, very enjoyable. Like, well, it's not a short ride, but a nice ride anyway.
yeah, yeah. It's a fun movie. Like I wouldn't mind revisiting it. Um,
Yeah,
like yeah, I'd watch it again. All right, The Irishman. I can take this one. I just finished it again, and for the first time since 20. Yeah, it's good. Martin Scorsese sure does know how to direct a movie.
wow,
Um,
hot takes
and
from Trevor.
um, like I, I mean, the elephant in the room is the 3.5 hour long runtime.
Yeah,
And like it's weird because I want to say that like the movie doesn't justify the runtime, and it kind of does. It is just this like massive sprawling story. I mean, this is what people, who are like, oh, they cut Peeves out of the Harry Potter movies. And it's like, okay, like, did you want it to be 3.5 hours long? And like, this is just Martin Scorsese in a book, like, just straight up and making it 3.5 hours long, which is
mm,
like fine. Like I have no problem with that. Crime and like gangster films isn't my favorite genre. It's like I don't find them that interesting. Like Goodfellas, I think it's a good movie. I don't love it like a lot of people do. Like I don't think it's like one of the greatest ever. Like I just think it's like a very four stars out of five. Like yeah, it was good. Because like I appreciate a lot of what Scorsese does with these and like I said, very well done. I just think from like a personal taste standpoint, like I was never going to get that invested in like the crime world that's presented, which isn't the best if it's going to be 3.5 hours long, even though I do think narratively it justifies that. I mean, the visual effects are pretty strong, which is weird. Like the de-aging, it's
yeah,
done well. I think it's like even just in like 3 years because like this technology's rapidly progressing. I
yeah,
think it's aged fair. It still
yeah,
looks good. I think the biggest problem is that they're still going to move around like 80-year-old men. I think the
yeah.
most egregious example of that is Samuel L. Jackson in Captain Marvel. Still moved like he
Mm.
was 70, even though he looked 30. Um, which there's no way that you can really avoid that. aside from just hiring a younger actor and just rotoscoping their face on there, like, not rotoscoping, but like just like motion tracking their face on. I don't know how visual effects work, so I don't want to do it. But like, yeah, it's a good movie. And it will probably never be more than that to me, but like, it's fine. Would I watch it again? Not unless I have to do a show like this.
Yeah. No, I would agree with most of what you said, because there are quite a lot of positives you can find with this. It's just a shame that there is a quite a big flaw that it's long. It gets boring. Like, I don't think anyone's denying the fact that they were, no one can really tell me honestly that they were hooked for all, 3.5 hours of this film. Like, you just weren't. You weren't. It does drag. Having said that, all three of so Pacino, De Niro and Pesci, they were all just excellent. Like, I don't know what we were really expecting, but they were all incredible. It feels like a very Scorsese film. Like, I think this would have been a great last film in a way. Not that I want Scorsese to stop making films, but it feels like a good sort of encapsulation of his career as a whole.
Yeah, it feels like a
exactly. And I do think that it feels quite vulnerable as well. Like, it's saying stuff about getting old, which are themes that I can't really relate to yet. So like, maybe when I'm like 70, I'll look back and think this was one of the greatest films ever made. As of right now, not really feeling these films, but they are there and they are well explored and explored with care. And yeah, it feels like this is just Scorsese going, cool, I want to make a film like this, and he did, and that's nice. But as you say, like, the quality is all there. There are a lot of pros you can find with it. I just think, I get bored very regularly during this film.
Yeah. And I think what you said is like, Scorsese said, I'm going to make this movie, and everybody was like, no. And then Netflix was like, I guess we'll give you money. And he was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And then he just made it. And then everybody was like, he wanted to make that. And then he made the movie.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
You got to respect him for it. You respect him for it.
Yeah. Like, I don't dislike this movie. It's just a movie like this is, like you said, until we're like 70 or 80, assuming the world is still around, never probably going to be one of my favorites.
No.
All right, I'll let you lead with Jojo Rabbit.
Okay, so Jojo Rabbit, I think a lot of people have compared Taika's films to Wes Anderson films, specifically this one. Mm-hmm. And I would agree to some extent, but I do think it is less in your face than Wes Anderson. With most Wes Anderson films, I watch it and go, yeah, I can see all the craft you're putting in. You are putting it in my face, all the craft you're putting in. Therefore, I can't ever really sit back and delve into the film. I'm just like, I'm always just watching it as a film. Whereas this one, I do think was it's a good film. It's a good film, Jojo Rabbit. Like, there's a lot of controversy surrounding this film that I don't think is like entirely deserving. Like, it's a film about a child Nazi who decides not to be a Nazi. Like, there's not much controversial about that. And
pro-Hitler. Like, people will say this is pro-Hitler, and like, did we watch the same movie?
No, and it's not like people say, like, it is very surface level satire. But I mean, what do you want? Do you want their nuanced depiction of the Nazis? Because I don't. Like, I don't want to see the Nazis be complex. I just want to see them be made fun out of, and that's what this film does. Like, I understand that it's not presenting a Jewish viewpoint, really, but that's not what this film is trying to do. I do think that watching a film like what's it called, Boy in Striped Pajamas, and that's not having a Jewish viewpoint, that does bug you, because that is the film that really needs one. This one, I don't think it does, because it is more about this child and this child's journey, and I do think that this child's journey is an interesting one to hop on with and enjoy watching. Like, the first time I watched it, I remember it being properly funny, like genuine laugh out loud moments. Does all the comedy hold up on rewatch? Yeah, not really. Like, not really. It doesn't all hold up. Yeah. I do still think it's funny, but like, most comedies can't really hold up on multiple rewatches. I think Hot Fuzz can. Like, that's why it's one of my favorite comedies of all time. I also don't know if the entirety of the emotion hits home. I don't know if Taika really completely understood how to balance tones. I do think he should, stick to the more comedic side, because he's very, very good at that. When trying to bring in this drama, when trying to make it more an Oscar-friendly film, that's where it goes a bit, it feels a bit basic. But yeah, I mean, it's an enjoyable film. It's an enjoyable film. Like, the child performances are great. I'll say that. Actually, all the performances are great, but, specifically the child ones. And yeah, like, it's not perfect, but there's a lot to like in it.
Scarlett Johansson deserved way more love for this movie. Like I know she was nominated, but like she needed to be in the winning conversation. And like I think it's safe to talk spoilers with this movie. The foreshadowing
Yeah.
to her death is so well done. As far as the cinematography. But I think that's where the emotion like that's where the drama peaks, and it wants the drama to peak later in the film. Like the third act of this film is really weirdly structured. Like it feels like there are like multiple false endings. To the point where like the last one like kind of works, but it also feels like a bit unsatisfying, at least to me. But like also Sam Rockwell, another performance that deserves so much more love, because I think that he's really fantastic in this. Like we said, like performances are all really good. Is this the most well-sounded, well-structured, well-tonally balanced film? No. But like it's fun. Like this, like yeah, there's all the comedy work on a rewatch. No, but it's like I don't know. This is a really weird movie for that the Oscars like latched onto.
Yeah.
Because like it's good in like a comedy movie way where like I don't know if it will be like my favorite movie of the year, but like it's something that I'll look back on and be like, oh hey, remember that movie? And like like you said, the satire is pretty surface level. But there's no problem with that, you know? I mean, really,
No.
Thomas, if anything, this needed more Nazi perspective.
Yeah.
To be clear, that was a joke for anybody on, that wants to try to
Yes.
like
Yeah.
cut that out. I'm going to specify. I'll probably put something on the screen that says that was a joke, so that can't be
I
clipped out
think
of
people
context.
could. I think people could guess that was a joke.
But but actually no. But yeah, I know this is a weird film to talk about because like I feel like in the same way that the satires I have a lot of surface level thoughts about the film. Like it's just like yeah, like it's a film that I can like and move on, and I feel like it wants me to get more out of it than that, and I'm never going to, but I also don't have that much of a problem with it. All right, let's talk about Joker. This is a film that the first time that I watched it, I thought, wow, that's really good. And then I've watched it 2 more times, and I think, wow, that's really bad. I think that Joaquin Phoenix is incredible. I think the score is incredible, and that's where the positives stop for me. I think that this was directed in the most boring, like, in your face, like, haha, look at what we're doing way. And like, I think that its social commentary has good intentions of pointing out how, just incredibly flawed the United States healthcare system is, especially when pertaining to mental health, and about how like economic classism can like, distance people from society. But like in the end, the messaging of this film is just be nice to poor people, otherwise they'll kill you. Like it feels so reductive to me of like what it's actually trying to say. And there's also a lot of incel vibes with like, women aren't real and they'll never date men like us. Cue a TikTok song. Like, I mean, like, like I don't know. I think we all know what the TikTok thing is. Like, yeah. But like, I think I don't know. Joaquin Phoenix's performance needs to be respected, but like, I yeah. I also think that this movie drags a fair bit. Like it isn't doing that much just from like a film perspective, not from like, a societal analysis perspective. But like yeah, I don't know. I and really bad wouldn't be the correct words, but like it's like I I would call myself mixed negative on this movie.
Okay.
Because I think that there are things to appreciate. I just think that the way in which it comes across, like it's like all of my problems with the Batman just like turned up to a 10. As far as attempting to portray a message and then not actually following through with it, which just creates a kind of opposite messaging. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it. I am fairly positive on it, but like I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. I don't think it's a 5-star film. I will say I really hate Joker fans. Like if you say, "Oh, Joker's one of the best movies ever," we're not gonna get on.
We're not going to be
So
friends.
no, exactly. Like I mean, Phoenix is great, but like yeah, what do you expect? I do actually I would say this is maybe my favorite Joker design. I just think it's so
Yeah.
like just it works. The Joker design, it works for me. Like Heath Ledger's Joker design, that is also iconic. But I do think this one really works. The political message is also just very unsubtle. Like as well as being bad, it's
Yeah.
just very ham-fisted in your face and like okay, it sort of works for Don't Look Up because that is the point of it. It is the point of it is to be in your
Right.
face. This one, it's just like
Right.
you didn't really know what you were doing. I don't, for the
Yeah.
life of me, know how Phillips picked up a Best Director nom, but he
Yeah.
did.
That's so stupid.
Yeah,
Valenciano was
like
right there, you
yeah,
complete idiot. Like,
or even just
you incompetent.
yeah, that was weird. And people think this movie is far deeper than it is. It's really not. I actually found a lot of similarities between this and Promising Young Woman in the fact that I think this works better as like a thriller, like a sort of thriller that
Yeah.
people look at it and go that's really good, rather than an Oscar film. Because once it starts being an Oscar film, people have to read into it and people start looking at it as like some sort of masterpiece, which it isn't. Like, don't analyze this film too much. It doesn't need it.
Yeah.
It is actively made worse once you analyze it too much because like the script and the plot are quite dumb.
Yeah.
Like they just
They're
are.
really quite stupid.
Yeah, like
Like,
I don't think it's a bad film. It's definitely it's definitely an enjoyable watch. Like I didn't regret watching it. I wouldn't say I'm bored by it. I also do like the fact it takes inspiration from these Scorsese films. I do think that is quite nice. Like yes, it is copying them, but it is copying from good films. So
it's literally just I
yeah,
mean, it is just the king of comedy, though. Like,
yeah,
it
I
just
know,
is the king of
but
comedy.
yeah, but I mean, you're
Like,
watching you're just rewatching the King of Comedy though, or Taxi Driver. You're just rewatching them, and that's okay.
yeah,
So like, I'd say it's good. I just don't. I think it got like way too overbloated. Like people just went, "Oh, this is a masterpiece." It's not. It's not. We can appreciate that fact. Like it's a good film. It's just not a great film by any stretch
yeah,
of the imagination.
for sure. Yeah, like the plot point of like, oh, but then his mom was like, friends with Thomas Wayne, and she shot, like, it feels like
Yeah,
a soap opera.
yeah. I don't know
Like,
why
on
Bruce
like
Wayne's in it
Dateline
as well.
TV.
Like, what is
Yeah,
Bruce Wayne doing in this film?
yeah. Anyway, now let's talk about a movie that I like more. Little Women. You can lead on this one.
Okay, so
Because
this
you
one,
were initially not a fan.
yeah, I was initially, and I will say this was like, so it would have been 2019 when I watched this. I was probably just a 13-year-old going, I don't really want to watch a period drama. And like, it's still not the thing that sort of appeals to me. I don't like period dramas really.
Mhm.
And so this is a film that I can respect, but I'll never like really enjoy it. I'll never really like this will be a film that I'll go back to. It just won't be that because I do think it is still a period drama and it still does like drag a bit, like as all period dramas do. I don't think it's structured very well. I did get a bit confused both times I watched it as to what exactly is happening when, and that is sort of a problem. Having said that, I do connect with the themes a lot more on rewatch. Like everything it's saying about following your dreams, it's like similar things to Ford vs Ferrari, and like youth in general and growing up and all that kind of stuff. I do think that works very well and is explored very well. I do think Gerwig's direction is very, very, very solid. And like she puts like the right care and the right heart into it. Like I don't think it's the best directing in the world, but it's very solid directing. And it's also maybe one of the best screenplays, like just in terms of the actual scenes themselves. As I say, I don't think it's structured the best. So I don't know why this scene was put there and all of that kind of stuff, but like individual scenes have some just great dialogue between characters. And of course, like Ronan is just like excellent. Like she is one of the best actresses of our generation. And Pugh was also excellent. Well, Emma Watson was fine. But
Yeah, no, Emma Watson's the
there's
weak
that.
point of the film for me.
Yeah,
She's definitely the weak point of the film for me.
yeah, and like yeah, as I say, I still don't find period dramas most interesting. I don't think this plot is the most interesting, as we are just sort of watching four people almost whine their way through life. But like I do think the themes are a lot more hard hitting on rewatch, and the acting is like really, really great, and just the directing and screenplay are enough to make this a very enjoyable watch, but just not one I'd ever go back to.
Yeah, so I love this movie a lot. Greta Gerwig is just one of my favorite directors, writers. She's I mean, Lady Bird and Little Women are both in my top 15 of all time. So like, um, you know, I Saoirse Ronan should have won what should be her second Oscar for this. She should have won for Lady Bird and Little Women, maybe even her third. Wouldn't have complained about an atonement win. I also love Saoirse Ronan. As you say, Florence Pugh is great in this. Emma Watson, a bit less great, but
Yeah.
and also my boy Timmy, I think delivers a very good performance here. Bob Odenkirk is there for no reason really. Laura Dern gives she isn't in it that much, but she had two. I mean, she was in two Best Picture nominees, both her and Scarlett Johansson. And I think she's better in Marriage Story, but I think she's still quite good here. Meryl Streep isn't given that much to do, but like she's Meryl Streep. Yeah, I don't have that much of a problem with the structure. I was able to follow it relatively easily. I'm also like, have you read the source material?
I have not, no.
Okay, so I am familiar with the source material. I also
Yeah, and
really
maybe
enjoyed
that's a
how,
bit of it. Yeah.
yeah, I also really enjoyed how Greta Gerwig changed the ending, because the ending is very different from the book.
Okay.
There's a moment later, like later on in the film, where like Saoirse Ronan's character, like she has like a choice to make, and she ends up like making like where she can like go with like this like man or whatever, and she ends up making a different choice than she does in the book, which changed the ending in a way that I wasn't entirely expecting, and I actually preferred this ending a lot more. It definitely has a more modernist take
Mm.
on the ending, like, and I think that's also what I really love about the dialogue. It feels like modern dialogue, but it also doesn't feel out of place. Like I do think that this is like really immaculately written. I like period dramas quite a bit. And it depends, because I think Downton Abbey is awful, but something like this I think is, I don't know, I think is really good. I mean, like I yeah, I have a lot of love for this movie. I think, yeah, a lot of it seems about writing and growing up and creating, and like how all of those themes interconnect and function. Really, really connected with me. Um, I have a lot of love for this movie. A lot of love for this movie. But yeah, I mean, if you're a period drama fan, then you're obviously, you know, it is the
Yeah.
genre of the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might see this, pretty high on my list. Um, Another movie that you may or may not see pretty high on my list is Marriage Story. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? Greta Gerwig's, I don't, are they married? Or boyfriend, husband,
Um,
partner.
who knows?
Noah Baumbach.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite writers and directors. I think this is easily his best film. I like the Marrow Stories. I think it's also quite good. Squid and the Whale, I think, is also quite good. Obviously, Madagascar 3, but which he wrote to pay for his divorce so he could be with Greta Gerwig. That's how Greta Gerwig
Yeah.
definitely is interesting. But if you write Madagascar 3 to be with someone, that's how you know they love
Yeah.
you.
That's how you know. That's how you know.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, just there are a couple scenes in here that are just brutal to sit through, but like also just so engaging at the same time. Um, how did Adam Driver not win for this? Like, yes, I understand Walking Phoenix, but also how did
Yeah.
Adam Driver, like, I between Black Klansman and this 2 years in a row, that's two where like I think he was my favorite in the category. Just so good. Scarlett Johansson so good. Laura Dern so good. I like. Oh, the kid also a really strong performance from the kid. Ray Liotta wasn't really talked about that much for awards, but both Ray Liotta and I don't know, I don't know, the entire ensemble is just great. Actually, like I would have much preferred to see Baumbach in director rather than Phillips. Like if we had to pick somebody else from the Best Picture lineup, because obviously it would be Celine Sciamma or Ari Aster if not.
Yeah.
But
or
like
Robert Eggers. Or Robert Eggers.
or Robert Eggers, of course. But like I wouldn't mind Baumbach directing them. The way in which he blocks his character around the environment, which is mostly just like interiors of buildings, but the way in which he uses that to create different power dynamics, and the way in which he uses like zoom ins and zooms out, like choosing when to cut on a scene. Like there was a lot of thought placed into how the filmmaking helps to provide the emotion that the performances and the writing is already giving. Just a great movie. Just a really, really great movie.
Yeah, and like if you compare it to a film like Kramer versus Kramer, it feels a lot more realistic. Because yes, there are the fights, obviously, but it is more about these characters, and like Johansson and Driver share relatively little screen time with each other. I mean, there is obviously still moments with them together, and they are some of the best moments of the film. But a lot of the time, those characters are on screen. It is alone, and it is seeing how they are affected by this divorce, and I think that's a very that was the way to handle it. Like obviously, as I mentioned, they were superb. Laura Dern superb as well. You mentioned that. The screenplay, like in most years, this would be one of the best screenplays. Although there was it didn't deserve to an original. It didn't deserve to an original screenplay this year, which hurts to say, but it's true. It's very subtle. Yeah. It's very subtle, but it never loses you. You're always captivated and engrossed. And that is mostly due to performances and the screenplay. And I really like the ending actually, because it's a very unsatisfying ending. But that is the whole point of this film. You don't get a satisfying ending with divorces like these. So I do think that was a perfect way to end it. And the theme of just love is so well explored and very detailed in its exploration of it. And there's not much I can really add to this film or say about it, because yes, it's very good. The screenplays are great, the performances are great, the themes are great. It's just a great film.
And I also, going along with the ending, it's unsatisfying, but also kind of uplifting that, even through a divorce, these people do still love each other. And I think it's great to see divorce portrayed in that way, where it's not these two people who are just they're awful people who are disgusted with each other and need to get away. These are people who are they obviously shouldn't be together, but they are still trying to work through their relationship, and obviously do still it isn't just we got to stay together for the kid. They do still actually have feelings for each other, which I think is a really nice way to see it explored, in a very different way than we've seen divorce explored in the past. Also something that isn't that expected with this film, but the cinematography is great.
For sure, yeah.
How again, holding on moments, but again, the blocking is so good. I think this was also shot on film. So it looks really, really beautiful how it captures LA. So just a great film. All right, a couple left, then we get into rankings. Thomas, you want to talk about 1917?
Yes, I can do, because I'm British, so I guess that's my right to talk about 1917 first. This film's not saying anything. It's very, very surface level. War is bad. I didn't know that. The story is just very cliche. It does feel very much like they went, right, we've done one action set piece. Now let's do a bit of walking, and then we'll go to the next one. Okay, now we've done that. We'll do a bit of walking. We'll go to the next one. So it does get very repetitive. I really don't know how this got original screenplay, because the screenplay is not I thought Phillips getting director was shocking. This getting original screenplay was just as shocking, if not more shocking. The film's just very predictable. And the performances are all right. They're not brilliant, but they're all right. So yeah, those are pretty much all the negatives. Like, other than that, cinematography is great. I mean,
Yeah,
what do you expect? Like, the one shot
the
is used
score.
very effectively. Yeah, the one shot is
Yeah,
used very effectively to immerse you into this world. I do think that was like that is the way to do this film with a one shot. Yeah, the sound, the score, the visual effects, production design, like it's technically very, very impressive and it's very, very immersive. Just like it's a good sit theatre watch. I don't think it really works well on hold up rewatching it because
yeah,
there's nothing really to draw you into this film outside of the technical elements, which if you follow the channel, you know, like technical elements can't like I don't really care about technical elements. They enhance a film, they don't make a film. Whereas here I think they are trying to they are selling this film on those elements. That for that reason I do probably prefer Dunkirk, which is probably the most recent comparison you can make to it. Like I think that's just like technically 1917 is more impressive. I think Dunkirk does more in terms of story and characters to really immerse you into this world.
yeah. I mean, everything that you just said, like the themes are non-existent. The screenplay could have been written in a day. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like, I mean, obviously this is it's so technically impressive, and I do think it
yeah,
deserves. Like, I think this was deserving of its fiction nomination. I think it was deserving of its
yeah.
director nomination. I'm
I
happy that
honestly,
it didn't
I will
win. I
say, yeah. Okay, actually, I like. Obviously, I prefer Bong Joon Ho and Parasite, but I wouldn't have minded if they did choose to split. So Parasite one picture, Sam Mendes one director. I wouldn't have been completely mad at that. Like
yeah,
obviously
I
I
wouldn't
prefer
have been.
Bong Joon Ho winning, but yeah, like as long as it's not the other way around and Bong Joon Ho wins director and like Tim with picture,
Yeah,
that would have felt worse.
yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's. I think that he was declare number two out of the nominees.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, this was the number two
I think,
film after the nominees.
well, I'm just saying as far as like preference, out of the
Yeah, okay.
direction at least.
Yeah, okay.
Um, because yeah, I mean this movie is like it's fine. It's a movie that I feel like I could rewatch pretty frequently because it's very entertaining. Like it is an entertaining film. It's fun to get immersed in this world, but like yeah, really not a lot's going on. Like it's fine.
No,
It,
yeah,
it's it is what it is. Like it had a concept and it executed it
yeah.
very
It's a
well.
classic case of style over substance. It is a classic case of
Yes,
that.
I would argue that this is more style over substance than any Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Although a
Um,
lot of Wes Anderson films are style over substance as well, but you know,
that's a debate that we can have another time because
yeah,
I would disagree. I think that is pretty equal, but um, just always have to bring up the Wes Anderson debate.
yeah,
It, uh, cannot wait for Green Book next week. Because that will be a fun discussion. But yeah,
yeah.
no,
Well,
19 like it's a decent film. It's a decent film. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So
wait, I just need to go get a laptop charger. Use your Nintendo. I need to get it
okay,
sorted. Like my laptop always just runs out of battery, so I'll see you in 2 seconds.
all right.
And I'm back.
All right. So I'll just enter us back in.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. All right. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So this this was a film that I initially liked when I saw it. Um, and it's just fine. I'm not the biggest Tarantino fan. This was my first Tarantino movie, actually. And I was like, oh, Tarantino, like he's supposed to be really good. And then I think I was just like, yeah, I'll like it. Like it's Tarantino. Like it was pretty good. Um, I've watched more Tarantino. I think Reservoir Dogs is pretty good. Everything else that I've seen, I don't like. Yes, even Pulp Fiction. Um, I rewatching this, like it's meh. None of the performances are that good.
No.
Brad
Like I
Pitt
can see
being in,
why. Yeah, I can see why
yeah,
Pitt won, but like it that was a career win. That was not a win for this film.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what else. I guess I would have picked one of the Irishmen. I don't know, like kind of a weak year in supporting actor. I still haven't seen A Full Day in the Neighborhood, but
Oh, Tom
like,
Hanks. That would have been a good one. That would have been a good one.
but
I mean,
like
it wouldn't have
the
been a
other four,
deserving win. Like, he is very one note in that film, but it's a nice one
yeah.
though.
Like, but just overall, like, kind of a weak year for supporting actors.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, obviously, yeah, like we said before, Pacino and Pesci were like good in The Irishman. Anthony Hopkins is like he's decent in The Two Popes. Definitely not giving one of his best though. Like,
No.
Brad Pitt was fine. Honestly, I think that Margot Robbie was the best performance in the film, in all honesty,
Maybe.
and she's in it. She like out of like the three, quote unquote leads, even though like I mean she's supporting, but out of like the three main characters, she's given by far the least amount of screen time. Like this is a very sprawling film, and I don't think it really connects on all of it. It's technically impressive, even though I don't really vibe with Tarantino's style. Doesn't really work for me. Like this movie's just okay. It's fine. It really isn't that. It isn't anything special though. Like
No, I don't like this film. I think it feels like the least Tarantino film, which is fine. Directors can go like do another thing, but I think he probably should stick to his style. It feels very, very self-indulgent. Like, look at the runtime. It's a long film. It is a lot of
yeah,
Tarantino just going, look at me. And it feels very much like a film for people within the industry, which obviously I'm not, so I can't really like fully get into it and really fully get immersed into the world, because a lot of the production design, it feels like it's there to make you look rather than they don't do anything with it. Like a lot of
yeah,
Tarantino
no,
films, they really use like, especially the Hateful Eight and Reservoir Dogs, they use the
yeah,
setting. This does not.
yeah,
This just goes, we are here. That's all you need to know. I mean, all Tarantino films sort of in a way condone violence, or at least a lot of them do. But that's a problem that I have with all Tarantino films, that it is condoning violence. It is condoning the murder of these. But I think the problem is, like, if you look at this film compared to Inglourious Bastards, Inglourious Bastards is killing Nazis. This is killing teenagers who are
yeah,
clearly confused, who could be saved, who could be, sent down a better path. So that I do have a problem with that, and therefore I do have a problem with the ending as a whole. Also, the whole wife murdering story, like, I don't know why it's there. Like,
yeah,
it just makes me feel like cold towards the character, which is not good. The cast are all fairly decent. Like, I do actually really like the chemistry between Leo and Pitt. That's fun to watch, and that is probably one of the best parts of the film. Like, the dialogue's just not interesting as most other Tarantino films. It feels very horny compared to, like, a lot of Tarantino films do have that edge, but this one especially.
yeah,
And it's structured poorly. The pacing's not good. Yeah, it's just not a good. There's a lot of factors that go against this film and leave a bad taste in my mouth. So yeah, it's easily my
yeah,
least favorite Tarantino film because, yeah, as I say, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, which is not what you want.
yeah. I would. This is another one where I'd call myself mixed negative on it.
Yeah, because,
Similar
like,
to
yeah, but
Joker.
I do definitely think this is a lot worse than Joker.
Interesting. I think they're kind of close.
Okay,
But last one alphabetically,
yeah.
the winner.
Well,
I don't
well,
really
what a
think that we
contrast.
have that. Yeah.
No,
I don't
no,
know if we have that much. Like everything has been said about this movie. We are of course talking about Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. Like it just
yeah,
everything has been said about this movie. Like just we alluded to it with the story. Just objectively, this is one of the best screenplays. Like this is the
yeah,
best screenplay of the year. I think just objectively, like the direction and like the stuff like that can come down, I guess, to personal tastes. But like this is just
yeah,
objectively the best screenplay of the year.
yeah,
Objectively one of the best screenplays ever written. Like I'd
yeah.
feel comfortable calling it the best screenplay of the decade. Um,
I mean, I'd have
like
to give some thought to that one rather than just throwing out that
yeah,
statement. But it
that's
would
fair.
be in
That's fair.
consideration. It would be in consideration. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
just I don't know. I feel like I don't have that much to say, even though
No,
I could say so much about this movie.
yeah.
Like
Like there are
it's
so many
just
details that there are so many details that you just don't pick up on unless you like rewatch it multiple times. Like I had no
yeah.
like first couple times I watched it, no idea that he owned an AR company, like an augmented reality company, and that is so
Yeah.
perfect. Like it's such a perfect little detail that feeds so
Yeah.
perfectly into the whole thing, and that's what I love about this sort of film, where every time you watch it, you pick up more details, you pick up more. Why the hell wasn't any of the actors nominated? Like just one, just one.
It's so
That's all I
stupid.
wanted.
It's
Just
so
one.
stupid.
Like more should have been, but
Yeah.
I just take the one, just one. That was all I need.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, technically,
Agreed.
just pretty much flawless. Pretty much flawless. Like the only, and I'm talking singular gripe that I have with this film, like it is, and it's minuscule. It is like not even really a complaint. I don't know why the father was the only one that was really effectively punished. Like it gives the message a slightly positive feel at the end, which I just don't think it needs. Like this son is
Yeah.
going off into the world. He's but like it's such a dark film. I don't think it needs a positive ending. But that is a minuscule gripe because the ending still works.
Counterpoint.
I still enjoy the ending. I just think it doesn't need to be happy.
Counterpoint. I don't think it is a positive ending. How I
Well, no,
read
it
the
is
ending
him. It is him
is
going
that
into this capitalist world, but
right.
succeeding in
Like
this capitalist world.
I don't think he is succeeding. I read the ending as that's what he thought that he was going to do. But I think Bong Joon-ho has even said that he going back, having the camera like move down back into the basement is showing that like he never actually does succeed. Like he attempts to, but is still kept down by the capitalist structure of the economy and is never actually let up.
Okay, I mean maybe that could have been made a bit clearer. As I say, this is like a minor gripe. Like, I like the ending. I do not care, but like just it could have been a little more negative, like to really
I've
make
seen,
that theme really hit home.
I've seen this film 6 times. I pick up on something new every single time.
Yeah,
Like it's a masterclass of filmmaking, and like legitimately, like this should be in everybody's top 3 of these nominees. I just think objectively, whether it's your number one, I think will come down to first.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, hoping this is in your top 3. All right.
Yes, it is in my top 3. Yeah, I thought that was fairly obvious.
All right.
I mean, it's in my top 3, but it's not two. It's not 2 or 3. So we'll just throw that out
there. All right. Let's start counting down. Number 9. I'm assuming you have Hollywood.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I have Joker at number 9. I just both Joker and Hollywood left a bad taste in my mouth. Joker was just a bit more star,
Okay.
even if marginally. But yeah, I do have Hollywood at 8 though.
I've got Joker at 8. Yeah, I just think Joker is a 3.54 film. It's a good. Where I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like 2 stars. It's not. I don't enjoy Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on really any level,
Joker
except for Pitt and Leo.
Yeah, Joker for me is 2 stars, and Hollywood is 3 stars.
Okay.
Hollywood maybe even a 2.5. I might move it down. But yeah. I think we're in agreement. Those are easily the worst 2.
Yes.
I don't even think it's close. Like those are the only 2 that I would call bad. In comparison to the other 7. Number 7, I have The Irishman.
I have The Irishman at number 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting us to agree. I mean, yeah, like next show 2018, I feel like we're going to disagree a lot more, but still pretty close. Yeah. Number 6, I have Ford v Ferrari.
Okay, I've got that a bit higher. Do you want to know when now, or should we reveal that later?
Sure. Where do you have it?
So I've got it at 3, actually. So very high.
Wow. Okay. What do you have at number 6 then?
So number 6, I've put 1917.
Okay, so 1917 is my number 5.
Okay,
I think that's a perfectly good spot for it. Pretty middle of the park. Like it's very technically impressive. I enjoy watching it, but it doesn't give me that extra push to really love.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Yeah, and we can talk about For You for today. Your number 3. What's your number 5?
So my number 5 is Little Women, which I know will be higher for you.
Okay. Yes, so we can talk about that later. My number 4 is Jojo Rabbit.
That is my number 4 as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I think it makes sense. Have it relatively high. Because like it's a film that like I enjoy watching more than 1917, but I think it does give me a bit more substance,
Yeah.
but it still doesn't give me that one extra push to make this the
No.
film that I
Yeah.
really love.
Yeah, and that's why I put it here as
Um,
well. Yeah.
yeah. So then your number 3, I know, is Ford v Ferrari. We can talk about that now.
Yeah. So I
Um,
mean, yeah,
like
this is
yeah,
just
I
yeah, lovely film, makes me feel good watching it every single time. Technically
yeah,
very impressive, you know, everything it does with sound editing. And yeah, like I just can't deny the emotion to this film draws out within me.
that's fair. That's fair. And yeah, I think that is the thing. I agree on everything you said. It's just I didn't emotionally connect to it as much, which I think is why I have it a bit lower. Like I compare it to 1917 as far as like not giving that much emotional appeal while like mainly focusing on the technical elements. And I just think the technical elements are just a bit stronger in 1917. But
Yeah.
so number 3 for me is Marriage Story. Is your 2?
That is my 2, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just a great film. Uh,
Yeah.
it's so good. I would honestly recommend this film to anybody that like feels comfortable going through it.
Yeah.
Because like, but it's also when rewatching it, I forgot how funny this movie was. Like there are some genuinely really funny lines in it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
like it's yeah, I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, my number 2 is Little Women. We
Yeah.
talked about our bit of disparity here, but I like it so much. Um, but number 1, quite obviously,
Yes. Yeah.
at this point, it's Parasite.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once again, what more is there to say?
Yeah.
What more is there
Yeah.
to say?
Not much. Not
The
much.
Oscars were right. The
The
Oscars were
Oscars were
right.
right, actually.
They,
The Oscars were right.
yeah, yeah. They like, and we had a tie last week where the Oscars were like kind of right, but also Sound of Metal. I
Yeah.
doubt we'll judge them as being right next week with Green Book. At least I
No.
personally wouldn't judge them as being right.
No.
But uh, yeah, I'm. It's Parasite. Like what more? I've shown this movie to so many people. Every single person's liked it. Like this movie,
Yeah.
it's as close as it's as close to perfection I think as you can get with in film. Like quite
Yes.
honestly.
I mean, it's damn near close, if not perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So would you like to recap your full list?
Yes, so I can do that. Also, I've just put together a combined ranking, so based on your placement
I
plus
was
my
also doing
placement.
that. Nice,
Yes,
nice.
I've done that. Yeah. But anyway, my ranking, so 9, I've got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. 8, Joker. 7, The Irishman. 6, 1917. 5th, Little Women. 4th, Jojo Rabbit. And then into the top 3. 3, Ford versus Ferrari. 2, Marriage Story. And 1, of course, Parasite.
Yes, and my list is number 9, Joker. Number 8, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 7, The Irishman. 6, Ferrari. 5, 1917, 4, Jojo Rabbit. 3, Marriage Story. 2, Little Women. And number 1, of course, Parasite.
Yeah.
So I'll let you read out your combined list.
Okay, so I may have got this wrong, but I don't think I have. I don't think my maths is that bad. It's not the most complicated math in the world. But number 8, so tied is Joker and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 7 is
Yep.
The Irishman. Number 6 is 1917. Number 5, Ford versus Ferrari. Number 4, Jojo Rabbit. And then into the top 3, we've got Little Woman, followed by number 2, Marriage Story. And then number 1, of course, Parasite.
Yeah, and I think that is a fair
Yeah.
like representation of our combined lists.
Yeah.
And yeah, Parasite, Marriage Story, Little Women being the top 3. No complaints from me. As
No,
it was
I'm
my
sure. Yeah.
top 3.
That was your top 3,
Just
yeah.
in slightly different order. But
Yeah.
but that is the show. We went a bit longer in this one, but we did have one more movie to discuss. And I'm enjoying the show quite a bit. It's fun to revisit the past Oscars years. Next week we'll be looking at 2018, which Thomas and I have very different opinions on. Thomas,
Yes.
a lover of Green Book, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
What
We'll
was
see
the other
though.
one that
We'll
you like?
see.
Oh,
Star
A
is
Star
Born.
is
Star is
Born.
Born.
Yeah.
We'll see. That might
Uh,
change. That might
but
change. Don't kill me. Don't kill me.
those three films I very strongly dislike. Some of my favorites of the year: Roma, The Favorite. I don't know. I'm blanking on the other one.
Vice.
I'm 2 out of 3. Huh?
Vice was your one.
Vice. Thank you.
Yeah. I know your taste better than you.
And those are 3 movies that Thomas dislikes.
Well, I don't dislike them.
You do.
Okay, we'll go with I dislike.
So,
I dislike one of them. The other 2 I think are good,
Okay.
just not. Well, actually, I dislike 2 of them. Roma I think is good. I just think others were better that year. But
okay.
yeah, we'll talk about all of this.
Yeah. Next week will be a very interesting show. Next week will be a
Yes.
very interesting show. It's the first one where Parasite I think was always going to be our number 1 here. We each had Marriage Story in our top 3.
Yeah.
Like last week it was exactly the same, just in different order. And Nomadland, The Father, Son of Metal.
Yeah.
Next week will be interesting. It'll be very, very interesting. So make sure you tune in for that. Not next week, 2 weeks from now, but
2 weeks.
next show.
Well, we'll see. We'll see
but
when it gets uploaded.
We'll see. We'll see. But
Yeah.
regardless of when it comes out, until then, Thomas, when can everybody find you? Where?
You can find me on Letterboxd at Thomas Gladstone. Yeah, when can people find me? On Letterboxd Thomas Gladstone, and on YouTube at Project Mayhem, where there may be stuff coming up. But we'll see. We'll see.
All right. You can find me Letterboxd at Trevor Matson, Twitter at TM Talks Movies, where you can find all of my MCU hot takes. Eternals is the best film of MCU Phase 4. You can find me on the Banana Meter, where I'll be writing something about Petite Maman this upcoming week.
Wow.
And then you can also find me on The Basement. We made our return show with special guest Eric Barnes, also known as the Warfather, who's a fun guest to have around. We talked about Doctor Strange and Everything Ever All at Once. So fun times. But until we see you again, stay safe, everybody, and goodbye.